I wake up. I'm sweating and it's eerily quiet. I slowly wiggle out from under the sheets of my bed, and I look around the gray concrete room I seem to be sleeping in. A sniper of some sort sits next to a large rusted metal door. I push off the linen covers and a loaded M9 falls to the stone floor. I place my feet on the ground. I'm wearing combat boots and I have jeans. I can't remember who I am, and I touch my head. I seem to have a buzz cut that I ruffle with my hands. Rubbing my face, I see I'm cleanly shaven. I bend down to pick up the gun. I examine the black and white neon surface. Engraved in the barrel is the word, survive. After putting the pistol into my left pocket, I walk over to the sniper. I grab it by the barrel and I run my hand along the smooth surface. The white neon paint emits a slight glow inside the dark room. I grab the metal door and I twist the giant handle. The door opens with a creak and the midday sun fills the room with a bright, warm light. I walk outside into a grassy field. I see the yard is surrounded by a giant chain-link fence with barbed wire on top of it. There are concrete buildings around the yard and there is a hole on one side of the fence. I look to the right and I see a massive concrete building. My eyes widen as I read letters along the barren concrete wall. Cells 1-19. I seem to be in a prison yard. I look back at the hole in the fence and I start heading towards it. I get down on my knees and begin to crawl through the hole. Right as I pass through the first gate, a steady beating starts picking up in the distance. I look around and can't tell where the sound is coming from and where it is. I get back to my feet and I begin to run across the black asphalt on the opposite side of the fence. I look around and see police cruisers sitting around me. The beating gets louder and louder. I jump next to one of the cruisers and I close my eyes, kneeling, covering my head with my arms. The beating is at a deafening roar, and I feel wind pouring down on top of me. I open my eyes and I look up. A UH-60 Blackhawk is right above me. I jump up and I begin to shout over the loud beating of the helicopter. I wave my arms and I jump up and down to try and get the pilot's attention. I hear a thump, like someone dropping a book onto the floor, but I keep on waving. The Black Hawk then turns around and begins to fly away. I frantically grab my M9 from my pocket and I shoot at the helicopter. Nothing. The bullet bounces off and the only people I've seen leave me on the ground. I lower my hand and I yell a curse. Why me? How can you abandon me? I don't even know where I am. I turn around as the beating gets quieter, and I see a wooden panel with stuff on top of it, held down by rope. I think that they are supplies, so I rush over and I take off the rope. I open the first box and I find a backpack, and the second box I find medical kits and vitamins. I open the backpack and I begin loading supplies into it. I open a smaller zipper and I find a flare tucked inside. Right when I'm about to open the third and final box, I hear a noise. I look up and see a not-so-human figure. The creature stumbles towards me and groans loudly. I pick up my pistol and I shoot the thing. It falls to the ground and it rolls onto its face. I stare in shock. The creature didn't scare me, but its eyes did. They were two blood-red eyes that glowed. When I saw the thing, I felt like the eyes were scanning my soul and secrets. I walk over to the being and I kick it over. I look at its scarred and grayed face. The eyes are black, dead. The stench hits me as I back away from what appears to be a zombie, and I look around me again. I notice a police cruiser near me and I walk over to it. I grab the handle, and surprisingly, it opens up. On the dashboard are the keys. I run back to the supply crates and grab the backpack and sniper. I kick over the third box on accident, and I find it full of water bottles. I snatch a few of them and I stuff them into the bag. I take one more and I open it to drink. After a long couple of swigs, I drop the bottle and I exhale. I was feeling a rush of adrenaline already. I run back to the cruiser and I open the door. Putting the keys into the ignition, the car starts up, with a full tank of gasoline. I take off my bag and I place it into the passenger seat, and I lean the sniper up against it. I get into the driver's seat and I close the door, pulling out of the parking spot and finding the gate to exit. While passing through the exit, I notice that the gate is held open by a camouflage military Humvee with a mounted 50 cal machine gun, and on the sides of the Humvee were stains of red liquid. I look around at the grassy fields around me and spot a huge shadow about 1 mile away. I press the gas a little and the car lurches forward down the street. I drive down the hill to a flat area and I stop the car. I roll down the window and I grab the sniper. I place the main part of the weapon onto the window frame and I hold it out of the car. Placing my eye upon the scope, I realize what the shadow is. A giant horde of undead creatures, all with glowing red eyes. I place my finger on the trigger and I turn the safety off. I concentrate on the group and begin to shoot some of these creatures. I aim for the head so I can kill more with less bullets. I get around 6 bullets when I see about 3 undead with military gear on. I realize that they must have owned the Jeep at the prison. I shake my head and I shoot more of these things. After 4 more bullets, I must reload. I reach over and I grab a magazine from my bag. While I pull out the empty magazine, I look back at the horde of creatures, and I see that they are approaching with massive speed. I pull the sniper away from the window, and I crank the lever to roll it up. Placing the gun next to my bag in the passenger seat, I look forward and I press the gas down. The car lurches forward down the road, leading next to a withered green forest. After driving for about 5 minutes down the road, I pull up into a massive 4-lane highway. The highway has cars all over the end lanes, and there are some fires on the other side. A broken FedEx truck lays in an exit, covered in flames, and half the trailer is ripped into metal shreds. I see dead zombies here and there on this abandoned highway. Seeing the black eyes remind me of the void. Nothingness. I shudder and I start to debate if I should take an exit. And then I remember something from my misty mind. A video on top 10 giant vehicles. There is a huge machine that I could use to survive this apocalypse. I look around while heading down the highway at 90 miles per hour. I start to lose hope until I find a large green sign saying, Dalton Gold Mine, exit A105. I think about the Balaz 75710, giant dump trucks the size of a 2-story house. I pull across 2 lanes and into the exit, swerving around a BMW Z3 that has both its doors open and the airbags deployed. I slow down when I approach the bridge crossing the highway leading to the mine. I slow down on the bridge and I look around. I squint through the hazy dust and see what appears to be a crashed airliner 2 miles down the highway. I sigh in relief. I'm glad that I took the exit, because if I didn't, I would have been stuck because of the crashed machinery. I shudder and I feel goosebumps when I begin to speed up again. I drive down the winding road leading to the mine, when I discover another horde of the zombies. They are running parallel to my car about 3 miles away. I start to speed up and continue driving down the winding road. After 4 more minutes of driving, I come across a massive hole in the flat landscape. I had reached the Dalton Gold Mine. The road goes from asphalt to dirt and gravel and I pull up into a huge slot surrounded with giant machines used for excavating and refining the gold. I pass a couple excavators, 4 pickup trucks, 5 refiners, and next to a fuel truck is what I've been thinking about. The Belaz 75710. I stop the cruiser and I open the door. The giant dump truck has a ladder on it that looks like I could pull it up easily. I walk over to the passenger door of the police car and I open it. My backpack tilts over and the sniper falls under the cushioned seat. I grab the bag and I put it over my shoulders and I pick up the sniper. I close the door and I walk over to the vehicle. I gaze up at the huge machine, and I see the sunlight blocked by the giant truck. I climb up the ladder and I walk onto the platform to the driver's cabin. I pull out the rusted door and I pop it open. I look around at the seat and the controls and I see a small slip of paper. I bump into one of the control sticks and I snatch the paper off the built-in desk. I don't take notice of the shifted stick and I read the paper. "Hey Jamie, I left the keys in the back of the shed. Don't forget Tuesday is the inspection." I sigh and I look around. There is a red and brown shed about 40 feet away. I place the paper in the cabin seat and I pick up the sniper. I look through the scope and I scout the area. I found what I didn't want to see. The huge horde of zombies that I was raised into the mine. I turn off the safety and I begin to fire at the zombies. 3 pairs of glowing red eyes turn black and a shell falls onto the platform. I shoot about 8 more and I lower the gun. A horrible realization has come to my mind. The shots made noise and I had attracted the entire group of these infected creatures. I place the sniper down and I run over to the ladder. I go down about 2 steps and I jump down to the ground. I take off running to the shed to see if I can grab the keys on time. I reach the door and I shake the handle. The door is locked, and I kick the spot where the handle is. After 3 blows, the door opens and the bolt hits the floor with a loud clang, and I look inside. I rush and look through the tables in the shed, throwing papers and folders to the ground, and I find the keys, stacked on a printed picture of a tunnel. I snatch them and I run out of the shed, chased with the fear of dying and becoming one of the infected. I start to climb the ladder when I hear noises. I twist my head to the side, and I see these zombies entering the fence lot on the far side of the machinery, running at high speed to catch up to me. I reach the top and I begin pulling the ladder up with all the strength that I have. Just as I get it up, the first zombies arrive at the truck, and I start trying to climb up the giant machine. I grab my bag and sniper and I run to the cabin. Just as I stuff them into the back seat, a zombie managed to climb up and started running towards me. I fall over and I start kicking the beast. I feel the sharp pain of something grabbing my leg. Stumbling towards the cabin door, I pull myself into the seat. The infected person stumbles forward at me and I see one of its red eyes are faded. I close the door and I grab my M9. I shoot the thing, and the glass door windows shatters outwards. I press the gas and the dump truck starts to crawl. I hear the blood-curdling screams of the creatures as they are crushed by the giant wheels weighing thousands of tons. I look up from the gas and my stomach drops. The control stick I accidentally moved was for the directions. I was heading backwards towards the massive mine. Right when I shift the stick back to drive, the truck slips into the mine and falls onto the road used to get into it. I slam into the back of my seat and I get the wind knocked out of me. I put the bottom seatbelt on, and the truck slips down another layer. The dead zombies on the platform get thrown off down into the mine, just as the truck slams into the next layer. A glass shard from the broken window flies through the cabin and cuts my forehead open. I touch my head and I feel the warm blood on my fingers. I remember my bag and I reach behind me to try and grab a bandage. I open the zipper and I shuffle my hand around the contents of my bag. I find the bandage and I pull it out. I start to unwind the bandage and wrap it around the cut. Immediately, the lily white bandage has a large red stain on it. I wrap it around again to make sure that it would be tight. I grab the bag and the sniper from the back. I take off the seatbelt and I climb out of the cabin. The truck shifts and tilts downwards at a steep angle. I climb to the front of the machine and slide down to the road. Once I reach solid ground, I start running towards the nearest way back to the surface. I see a small vehicle up ahead and I run towards it. It's a small car that's heavily rusted. I hear a loud crash and I swivel my head around. The Belaz 75710 crashed down layer by layer into the mine. I look down into the mine and I see a fright. There are hundreds of miner zombies climbing up the ledges trying to get to me, wearing tattered uniforms and some even carrying pickaxes. I place my bag and sniper into the small luggage room and I hop in the car. The keys are in the ignition and I give them a turn. The vehicle starts up very loud and violently, and I floor the gas. The car jumps forward and speeds to about 30 miles per hour. With the car being so slow, I look behind me and see that there are carts of ore attached to the vehicle. I stop the car and I jump out. The coupler is made of steel and tightly fastened. I start kicking it, and out of frustration and anger, I grab the pistol from my pocket and shoot it. In an instant, the lock shatters and the carts of ore run backwards and hit a wooden pole. As the gleaming ore falls out of the cart, the miner zombies reach the layer below the one that I'm on. I get back into the small vehicle and I take off to the exit. I hear the zombies groan as they climb up the roads. I reach the surface and I hear a familiar sound. A steady beating picks up in the distance and I see two black objects coming at me in the sky. I grab my bag and I open the first slot. A bright orange flare gun sits inside its custom-fit pouch. I rip open the Velcro and I take out the gun. I pull the trigger and a glowing red ball shoots high up in the sky and disintegrates. My hope rises as one of the objects banks right, and the other one begins to lower itself down. I wave my arms and shout over the beating of the blades. Once the helicopter landed, men in combat gear wave over and yell at me to come. I stumble over a rock and I run to my hope of rescue. Just as I reach them, I hear a loud buzzing sound. I pull myself in and I see all of these zombie miners, who had reached the surface, being obliterated by a minigun. The buzzing stops and the helicopter quickly takes off, and I get a wide view of my surrounding area. Next to the mine, I see a couple dead shadows next to oil pumps that have stopped and rusted. Looking up, I see the remains of a burning city. I hold on to my seatbelt and I close my eyes. I start to relax when I hear a voice. Survive is the only word spoken. I open my eyes and everything is black. I hold out my hands and I try to grope the darkness, failing. I whimper and realize that I don't hear the helicopter anymore. I feel like I'm floating in a dark void. I look to the right and my eyes widen in fear. Hundreds of red, glowing eyes are staring at me from the ground up. I start to hear tinnitus, and I see a light right in front of me. The light gets brighter and the sound gets louder. I jump in a bed. I'm in a cold sweat and surrounded by soldiers, doctors, and many others. A man with a lab coat and a scar on his lower lip comes up to the bed and places his hand on the sheets. "Congratulations," he says in a very American accent. "You are one of those who remain."